From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. Well, Wally, as always, we have a lot to get into, but we're going to start with the association, the NBA playoffs, and your Minnesota Timberwolves are back in the party once again. They get to go to Hollywood and take on the LA Lakers for 2 before coming to the Twin Cities for games 3 and 4. It's a matchup that I think the Wolves are confident about. What do you think?
Well, I think outside of Minnesota, folks are thinking, wow, this is a good matchup for the Lakers. They're just going to roll into the next round. And, based on some of the inconsistencies of the Wolves this year, kind of hard to blame them. But at the same time, the Wolves have played much better down the stretch. Outside of that disaster in Milwaukee where they blew a 24-point second-half lead, or fourth-quarter lead for that matter, they've been playing pretty well. I think Julius Randle has found his niche with the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is he's been going crazy shooting threes. I don't know. That last matchup with the Lakers with Luca in town, part of the Lakers, Wolves did pretty well. I don't think that this is going to be an easy ride for either team. I expect at least 6, if not 7. And the Wolves are they might be a little bit better team than the Lakers. They're deeper for sure. I think they have more talent.
I think they're more athletic, too.
Yeah, I think they're more athletic.
Longer. You look at the 2 seed, Houston, all the way down to the 8 seed, separated by 2 games. So normally when you see a 3 versus a 6, Lakers against Timberwolves, there's usually a lot of separation. But in this case, 1 game separated both teams. I think clearly it's on paper, it's very even. Luca, of course, shredded Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals last spring. He and Kyrie Irving, when Dallas won it in 5 games.
Right.
He was scoring 30-plus, high assist totals, and he was, driving the Mavericks engine. Will he be able to duplicate that? I think an interesting matchup is Chris Finch. He's got more experience than J.J. Redick, the first-year L.A. Lakers head coach. There's a lot of pressure on Redick and the Lakers. They believe with the acquisition of Luca,
they should win it all.
Exactly. That's a blockbuster. And remember, the Lakers, I believe it's 15 titles in their history, including 5 here in Minneapolis. It's championship or bust. They want to get back to that mindset. So I think more pressure on the Lakers. The Timberwolves should be able to play loose, especially when you're starting out in Los Angeles games 1 and 2.
Well, and the other thing is, the flip side of this, of course, the Timberwolves were the number 2 seed last year. They dropped down. They're the 6th seed this year. So they won't have home court unless, there's some upsets along the way. But we'll see how it rolls. I'm interested to see it. We're going to talk more about the Timberwolves and Lakers coming up with our guest. A guy named Khobi. Khobi Price. He is a beat reporter for the Southern California News Group, and he's going to join us and give us some insight on this matchup between the two. Okay, let's talk Twins. Obviously, the start is horrible. Through 15 games, it was their worst start in club history. And the other thing that is bothersome, and it has to be bothersome, even though it's April, even though the weather hasn't been great. Now, there have been a few good days. Attendance has been abysmal. And this runs deeper than the Twins just losing baseball games. I think that this is a pattern that was set, 2 years ago when they go to the playoffs, they get everybody behind them, and then last year they do nothing. This year they do nothing. They don't spend the money. They let guys go. Sonny Gray gone. Max Kepler gone, so on and so forth. And here we are. And there's who on that team, you mentioned this to me on the radio, and I'll throw it back to you. Who on that team excites you to go and watch Twins baseball right now?
Byron Buxton still does because he's got the great wheels.
Okay.
We saw him stretch a single into
I'll buy
a double
that, but he's been inconsistent.
Easily against the Detroit Tigers on Sunday. Yeah, he's got to hit better. Carlos Correa could, but he's off to a very slow start, very sluggish at the plate, but not really too many guys that you would say, hey, I'm going to go out and watch this guy play. In other words, you're going to see the opponents, like the New York Mets this week.
When Soto came in.
Juan Soto, Polar Bear Pete Alonso. But the other problem is the apathy right now is higher than the IDS tower. we've gone to a number of games where, they had 10,000 on Monday night. I think that's the smallest
Ever.
Target Field crowd ever, sans COVID. They had 12,000 on a Friday night, and the weather wasn't bad against Detroit. So nobody's flocking to the ballpark. And what's happened here is, remember, they cratered last September.
Right.
They were on a path to the playoffs, and then they had a free fall. And now they've started historically slowly, as you just pointed out. So those two have been meshed together. A disastrous finish and one of their worst starts ever. And that, along with, not a lot of star power and an ownership group that really, quite frankly, is sitting on their hands. Are they involved? Has anyone spotted the Polat family?
They are MIA.
Where are they? In Cancun or something?
Yeah, well, they might as well
They
be.
got the money.
Yeah, they might as well be. It hasn't been good so far, and folks aren't showing up. All right, we are going to talk more Lakers and Wolves coming up.
Yeah, 10K takes your wins ticket.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I'm owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so we're always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10,000 takes continuing along. We're going to talk some more hoops. Your Timberwolves, of course, out in L.A. to start the postseason. And we're going to be joined now by a guy who covers the Los Angeles Lakers. That's his beat. His name is Khobi Price. He is with the Southern California News Group. Khobi, when you first heard that the Timberwolves were the Lakers' first-round opponent, what's the first thing that ran through your mind as far as matchups go?
I'm glad you specified as far as matchups go because I know we're going to get into that more, but when you said first thought, my first initial thought was, man, these are going to be a lot of miles traveled between LA and Minnesota for however long this series goes. Can't even hold you. Can't even lie. That was my first thought, my initial thought. But then when I moved on to thinking about the actual matchup, I think this is something that I've spoken about publicly or with other people, how, Minnesota was one of the tougher matchups that I think the Lakers could have drawn in the first round. I think I had the Clippers and the Warriors above Minnesota, but I had Minnesota above Memphis, and I'm forgetting the fifth team that the Lakers could have drew in the first round. Memphis and Denver. So right. Minnesota to me was a team that in some ways matches up well. I think the Lakers have certain advantages over Minnesota, but again, these are teams who were, the standings will say they're separated by 3 spots. This is the 3 and 6, but one win is all that separates them, or one loss rather is all that separates them. So it should be a long series. It also should be a very interesting matchup and a interesting clash of styles.
Yeah, and I know, Khobi, earlier in the week you wrote about J.J. Redick, the Lakers' first-year coach, being very concerned about Minnesota. They're a top 10 offensive and defensive team. So I think you're right. I think it's very tight, very close. But tell me about that seismic moment a couple of months ago when the Lakers get Luca. We know historically the LA Lakers get their man, whether it's Wilt, Kareem, or Shaq. But did you see Luca on the radar? I thought it was shock and awe.
It was an incredibly shocking moment, an incredibly shocking night in New York when that trade broke and, reporting on it. And honestly, an incredibly shocking couple of months. month and a half, where even after Luca made his debut for the Lakers on February 10th in that home win over the Utah Jazz, I'm still thinking, I can't believe Luka Doncic is playing in a Lakers uniform. So that night, I'll never forget it, in Madison Square Garden, in the media room. You get the notification on your phone. You're looking down like, what in the world? How is this real life? And you're calling people, you're reporting on it. You're so amazed and shocked that it's real life. And the past 2 months since then or 2.5 months rather, have really just flown by. But even now, it's still like there have been, I think he's played in 28 games for the Lakers. There's been plenty of big moments he's had. And to me, it's still one of those. I cannot believe that trade happened. And I still can't believe that he's playing for the Lakers. And neither can Mavericks fans, based off the reaction last week and the reaction that I've seen from the Mavericks fans' social media after Nico Harrison and company had immediate availability earlier today. So very, very interesting having Luca on the team.
All right, I'm going to assume that you think and that they are a better team because of the trade, because of Luka Doncic. Tell me how they have gotten better.
Yes, you're correct in that assumption. For me, I mean, the playmaking opportunities that Luka provides in terms of, I mean, people mention it all the time in and around the league. You can't play drop against Luka Doncic, which is funny because attacking drop coverage was one of the Lakers' weaknesses, before they traded for that player. So they were really good against teams who switched, and they were good against teams who, double team, hedge, and recovered. Well, those are the coverages defensively that teams are going to throw at Luka because they don't want to drop. So he's just made life easier for Austin Reeves. There's been just Austin's like feasting off of, more open looks, more secondary playmaking opportunities, while also still being able to get more of his primary ball handling responsibilities when Luka isn't on the floor. He's taken a significant load off of LeBron James in terms of LeBron. You don't have to be the primary or even sometimes secondary initiator nearly as often. You can be on the weak side. You can be off ball. You can spot up even more. And that energy that he's preserving, not being on ball and not having to bring the ball up the floor, having to initiate the offense from the perimeter as much, he can put more of that into post ups or be more involved in pick and roll as the roll man. Or defensively, he can expend even more energy than he already was on the defensive end of the floor, which we've seen, especially the past couple of weeks after he came back from the groin injury. He's upped his defensive intensity again and been able to, refine his groove and refine his rhythm on the offensive end. So, and then, Dorian Finney-Smith, it's funny, me and another writer, he mentioned, I feel like Dorian Finney-Smith shoots his best on passes or from beyond the arc on passes from Luka Doncic. Well, come to find out, you look at the stat, he's shooting like way better off of passes from Luka than any other player who passes to him. So more than anything, like obviously the scoring is the scoring, the gravity is the gravity, but his playmaking just opened up so many opportunities for the Lakers and opportunities that really not only weren't there beforehand, but you don't really get from only so many other players like Luka, Jokic, LeBron in his prime. Like there are just certain levels of players who can combine that special level of scoring, passing, playmaking, and willingness to pass and playmake.
All right, so back in the day, Wilt and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, they had chemistry. Kareem had it with Magic and James Worthy. Certainly Shaq and Kobe had it. Do LeBron and Luka have it? Who's the alpha male here? Is it still LeBron?
In terms of chemistry, it's developing. I think some of it's also it may not be as far as if LeBron didn't miss the 2 weeks with the groin injury, but it's definitely developing, and we've seen, especially over the past 2 to 3 weeks. I go back to that win they had over the Memphis Grizzlies. I think it was March 29th or 30th. I think it was the last, or 29th. That to me was a big game in terms of, showcasing their development. In terms of alpha, LeBron, I believe he's still the captain. So people are always, and it's LeBron James, are always going to associate the team with him. At the same time, LeBron, he said it before Luka joined the team. He reminded us of it when Luka did join. He said it before. Luka was his favorite player in the league before the Lakers traded for him. We asked about offensive responsibilities. LeBron's mentioned that the ball needs to be in Luka's hands. Luka is going to be the one orchestrating things offensively, and even Austin Reeves to an extent will be the ones orchestrating offensively, and then LeBron can sprinkle in. I think to directly quote him, sprinkle in his offense every now and then. So the Lakers will, of course, be associated with LeBron until the day he retires. But this is, in terms of how their style of play, is going to be in the image of Luka Doncic.
All right. Who covers Anthony Edwards? And on the flip side, who do you think is going to be on Luca?
Anthony Edwards, I would expect Rui Hachimura to draw that assignment, at least to open game 1 on Saturday. Going back to watching, it's funny how this team played 4 times, but 3 of them were all before like mid-December. So we only have 1 game to go off of since the Luca trade, and Rui covered Anthony Edwards in that game. I think for the Lakers, providing an element of size, physicality, length against Anthony Edwards will be huge. And then I believe you asked who will cover Luca. I would expect for that to be Jaden McDaniels. I think he's going to draw the assignment against Luca. I know it was different the last time that the Lakers and the Timberwolves matched up because they were without Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle. That changes how you match up. I think actually Jaden McDaniels was on Jackson Hayes in that game, or matched up against him, at least to start. But when Dallas played Minnesota, when Luca was still with the Mavericks, Jaden McDaniels was the one guarding Luca in those games. So I would expect for that to be shift more over to Jaden McDaniels then.
Khobi, quick final thought. I know ABC has at least one of the games, the opener, maybe more. If Stephen A. Smith is in the house, do he and LeBron fist bump? Does he acknowledge Bronny? Or is that thing too just past any kind of harmony?
I don't. If Stephen A. does show up for a game, which I guess, if he does show up for a game, I don't know if I would expect a fist bump. I don't even know if I would expect an interaction. It just may be one of those keep it pushing moments. But since you asked that, I can't lie to you. I hadn't thought about it, but I'll be on the lookout for any potential LeBron Stephen A. interactions, just in case something comes to fruition. I got you.
All right, give us the scoop.
All right, Khobi, we appreciate your insight on the Lakers and the Wolves series, and we'll see you when you come to Minneapolis.
Appreciate you guys having me on. See y'all soon.
Thanks, Khobi.
All right, he is Khobi Price. He is with the Southern California News Group, with us here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us. More after this time out.
Great touchdown. Can I have a quick word with you? You are in jeopardy of failing my class. Change this or no more football.
If you want to be a great athlete, you have to study too.
I do want to play. I saw an ad on social media about reading out loud literacy program. Maybe they can help.
You did it.
When you read, you know. According to the 2021 to 2022 Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments, just 31% of black students are proficient in reading, compared to 59% of white students. In addition, just 20% of black students are proficient in math, in comparison to 54% of their white counterparts. The more you read, the more you know. Reading out loud literacy can help you. Visit llcooljorg.com for more information. Reading Out Loud Literacy is sponsored by City of Minneapolis Community Trauma Response Fund.
Wally and Eric from 10,000 Takes here in the land of lakes. And if you want sports of all sorts, check us out. We cover all the bases, all the teams in the great state of Minnesota.
Vikings, Twins, Wild, Gophers, Timberwolves, Loons, you name it, we do it. Late night Saturday night on Fox 9 Plus and on the Fox local app.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
We are 10,000 Takes, and next week it's NFL draft time, and this year it is to our neighbors to the east, Green Bay, Wisconsin, hosting this event, which drew, over 750,000 people to Detroit last year. Yeah.
A record.
In Green Bay, in Titletown, they're expecting at least 250,000, 250,000 or more. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. And as small a market as Green Bay is, they're ready. I mean, they've been putting up roadblocks and everything else for weeks now. And the time is just about here. My question has been all along, and we talked to somebody from Discover Green Bay, which does a lot of the, advertising and so on to promote Green Bay. And he told us, I said, well, where are you going to put all these people? Because there's not that much hotel space in Green Bay itself. He said, well, there's still some rooms. Yeah, I wonder how much those rooms are.
Oh, goodness, they're going to be about $700 a night because Ridiculous. It's going to be Super Bowl-like gouging for the hotel rooms. And you have, a hotel capacity there that is minimal compared to, say, Detroit or Pittsburgh, where they're going to have the event next year. So, yeah, Green Bay clearly is the center of the NFL universe, and all roads will lead to Titletown. You should just park your yacht on Lake Michigan and dock it there, and then you can stroll into the event, which is centered around Lambeau Field, of course, that NFL cathedral. I guess the good news is some of our viewers probably have always said, I want to go to Lambeau, but there's that sticker shock factor, or I can't get a ticket. They don't have any no-shows at Packer games, even when it's minus 10 degrees. This is your chance to go to Lambeau and not, mortgage the farm, won't see a game, but you'll be in the city. It's free to get in. So if you want to go over there and can find a place to stay, then it's a chance. Or go one day, come back. It's an easy drive. We've done it many times. You point your car east on I-94 and you get off on Wisconsin State Highway 29. And depending on where you are in the Twin Cities, you're there in about 4.5 hours.
It is 4.5 hours. I'm not thrilled with doing that in one day. We've done it several times over the years. I have a choice now these days. My son lives there.
Free lodging.
And his wife, yeah. So, but that being said, I wonder when this thing is going to come to Minnesota. It's been in Detroit. It's been in Chicago. It's going to be in Green Bay next week. Do you think Minneapolis or the Twin Cities is going to get this thing?
Yeah, this market is now the lone wolf in the NFC North, having never hosted a draft. Chicago's had it multiple times way back in the day, and I know they had one recently as well. But it should come here. I think if it did come to the Twin Cities, you'd get crowds similar to Detroit.
Right.
They might even try to top it, knowing that's the bar, and now there's this Lions-Vikings rivalry thing going that's probably higher than it's ever been. But you got to go out and try to get it.
Right.
It's in Pittsburgh next year. It's a crown jewel event on the NFL calendar, which amazes me because there's not going to be one pass throwing. Nobody's going to score a touchdown. But all these people show up.
Everybody shows up to watch TV.
Exactly.
What in the world?
Exactly.
Are you people crazy?
I don't get it. But Minnesota, the Twin Cities specifically, should try to get it. It would be a huge boost to this area. And all the draft geeks out there, they would be in heaven. So Go for it, Minnesota. But who's leading the charge? Who's the point guard?
I don't know. 4.5 hours to the east. I am not driving 4.5 hours to watch television. That's for sure. All right.
You're on the clock.
We're on the clock. Next up on the clock, takes of the day. Stay with us.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I am owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so we're always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
Reading out loud, literacy will literally make sense of the things you see. Reading out loud, literacy will literally make sense of the things you see.
British A. Robinson, president and CEO of the Barbara Bush Foundation, stated, "America's low literacy crisis is largely ignored, historically underfunded and woefully under-researched, despite being one of the great solvable problems of our time. Learning to read is fun and essential." Reading Out Loud Literacy is sponsored by City of Minneapolis Community Trauma Response Fund.
10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. Big shout out to the viewers in the Twin Ports and the Twin Cities. We're up and down that I-35 corridor, and they're going to soon learn what your mood is. Are you angry? Are you happy? Are you in a demanding type of mood today? What is it?
Well, I'm going to bat for you here, believe it or not. Yeah, I know your son plays high school baseball. My son's played high school baseball. I know sitting at those games in April and May, not exactly choice weather here in the Twin Cities or across the state of Minnesota for that matter. So I have a suggestion for the Minnesota State High School League. I know you're tired of hearing suggestions from me. It's about time you fix the basketball tournament, both the boys and the girls. Well, I've got a suggestion for you. Fix high school baseball. Move it to a fall sport. At least give schools the opportunity. I know the smaller schools that would be a tough deal because the numbers game, and a lot of your football players are also baseball players and so on. But in the larger schools, particularly in the metro area, give these schools an opportunity to play fall baseball instead of spring baseball. Instead of hitting grounders in the gymnasium in March trying to get ready for baseball and dodging raindrops and snowflakes throughout the month of March and heck, throughout April at times, move it to the fall. Start the season middle of August. Kids are they've been playing summer baseball. You don't need weeks of warm-up. You could probably start games almost right away. Finish up at U.S. Bank Stadium, and you'd be much better off than you are right now. I am demanding that you change baseball to a fall sport in high school.
Well, let me check that mood meter out. Probably not much of a shock. He is a demanding diva. I know my kid had 5 a.m. practices at Champlain Park.
I mean, it's just frigid.
Getting up at 4:40 a.m. to play baseball.
It's terrible.
All right, well, my takes of the day, I'm just going to give some props to, first of all, Minnesota United, the Major League Soccer team here in the Twin Cities. They had a 0-0 draw against Toronto FC last week on the pitch. But Dane St. Clair, the Canadian goalie, got 5 saves from Minnesota. Hey, they're in second. They're only, I think, 4 points behind first place Vancouver. So Minu's home this week against Dallas FC. Go check them out if you're a soccer fanatic. And then, hey, Paige Beckers. I mean, let's think about it. Hopkins High School off the UConn, had a major injury, big bounce back, #1 pick in the WNBA draft. She's down to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex now. She's with the Wings. And, it's all Cowboys all the time down there in Texas. But if she can move that needle for the WNBA in football-obsessed Dallas, then she is a rock star.
Yeah. And by the way, she just won an NCAA title to boot.
Yeah, with the UConn Huskies. All right, on that note, we got to go. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to David Weld, Paul Langfellow, Khobi Price. For Wally, I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.